Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you're having fun. I hope you enjoyed the coffee. So to resume and to come back to the exercise, maybe we should start asking the representatives from Confundesia just to let us know where they are and to summarize and report to the group what have been their findings on the first three questions. Maybe if you want to present yourself again.
My name is Tarabana Tarabini, and I represent the private sector in the group of work.
From which one?
The group of work that we have done this exercise for the Confundesia. There was a management group that was working together with the leading of the representative of the Kingdom family, who was able to list all the problems we hope that are facing our region, starting from the water pollution that is coming from the mining in their region. But we recognized also that there is also pollution coming from the urban pollution from the cities, particularly from the capital Confluenza that is near the river. Mostly of the urban is this organic pollution is coming from the urban waste and from the mining, and it's mostly metals, heavy metals, and from the agriculture is pesticide that is finalizing the water. Then we have the damp, the problem of the damp, which is related to a different problem of the water, water temperature, water flow, fish biodiversity, sediment transportation, all these that normally are recognized in damp. Speaking of it, that's we also recognize one of the problems that is in our region. The hunting, which are related to the wetlands and the forestry around. Also the that is the proposal. The proposal, the new proposal that are coming also has been seen as a problem. The proposal for establishing a new dam and a nuclear station, and also the opening of the channel, or a new channel, artificial channel, and the biofuels in the center, the production of the biofuels. The transboundary water sharing, which is related to the energy, will come also after this, is one of the things, considering that the Confundesia region give about 60% of the water flow to the Papyrus dam, which is on the other region, and they are producing energy. This is considered also one of the problems. The other problem is related to the shipping, to the transportation of the boats and navy into the channels and to the rivers, related to the impact of pollution, disturbance, and other. The fishing activity has been seen as the other problem. Related to the overfishing, an illegal one, but also to the possible pollution and also sediment that are sedimentation of the lake that impact the fishing. The drinking water also has been seen as another problem that is related to the population. Mostly the population is using underground water from the pumping station, so the use of for the drinking purposes, it's dangerous. The aquifers underground, particularly for the pollution, and also effusion of the salt water from the sea. The irrigation of the irrigation of the land, particularly for the culture of the biofuel that are producing there, they need a lot of water. So all these are seen as a problem. This related also to the upper part of the Confluencia region. And the last one is conflict of interest of stakeholder within sectors. Okay, conflict of interest. These have been the writing of the author. These are more or less the problem we have seen. I will continue the other.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Before we go to the action, we have seen also what are the ecosystem services that are contributing to the area, and the forest with all these elements, water regulation, soil, culture, recreation value, local climate, all these things which are related to the forest area. The mangroves for the coastal defense and the fish production and other production. Chimeras Lake for the fish. The river transportation and water supply, the swam in Adonis, which is related to the flow regulation, fish, tourism, and food in general. These are, let's say, the main recognized ecosystem services. Now the action. For the action there was a long debate. The first problem related to the water pollution. The idea is to stop the pollution that's coming from Aquinonia, and also rehabilitate the area near the lake, which is already polluted by the heavy metals. We see that the main thing to continue this work is to create a joint group with the other people. And the joint management team will be the proposal, but the joint management team which have a multi-sectoral inclusion, so not only water but also other sectors like agriculture, mining, energy, things like this. The agriculture has been seen as one of the actions to be taken, particularly for the food production and other income for the population. And we want to see the action on the irrigation efficiency and save water, use the runoff as fertilizer, and I should sit down now. And so that's a question which we was putting on us, who will pay all this all cost. The other problem the action is seen for the channels. The private sector would like to see more large channel for transportation and more shipping transportation. But on the other hand, there is a environmental ministry and also the environmentalism movement in the area that would like to protect the mangroves. So that will be a kind of action that will still have some debate to be resolved. We want to resolve the problem of energy because we want a better price from Aquinonia, as we are contributing with 60% of the water, so we want a better price. Otherwise, we will like this to build a dam ourselves and don't care about the Aquinonia dam. Punto basta.
Yeah, basta. Okay, so thank you very much for the Confluencia representative. Then I would like to call upon the Aquinonians to let us know where they are standing and what's their view of all of this. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to this joint meeting. We very much welcome the proposal for a joint group in which we could address water, agriculture, energy, mining issues together. And we have several proposals along that line that would, examples of collaboration across our border. And to start with, I'll refer to the map here. We propose a transboundary peace park that would tie together the shrouded forest and would improve the ecology of the basin. We heard you point out that sedimentation exists in Chimeras Lake, and that's a key tourist destination for you. So we wonder if this joint peace park that extends through the shrouded forest would decrease that sedimentation. We propose that it also include the swamp, the shared swamp that we have, Adonis swamp, and that there be local management of that swamp by the communities there. The ecosystem services for the swamp that we both value, I believe, are flood control and stabilization of river flow through that area. Let's see. We feel that afforestation through the peace park may also result in increased levels of precipitation, so that we all benefit. Yes, 60% of the water does come from your side and 40% from ours, but increased precipitation would help all of us. Another collaborative project that we could explore is on the upper reaches of the Tarambana River, the middle of the map at the top. We propose that we build a joint hydroelectric station there. The hydro potential is high up in the mountains at that location, and we hope that it might lead to Confundesia stopping the biofuels project that, as you mentioned, is very water intensive. So if you have energy coming from that hydroelectric station and you wind down the biofuels project, then again we have more water in the river system. Something that we hope that we can gain. We hear that energy is a problem in Confundesia, and we have a wind power installation on the peninsula in the south, Seals Peninsula. We'd like to propose sharing energy, some of the energy we generate from that wind power with you in exchange for access to your Estam Bay port. It's a deep sea port, and that would help us get our products to market. We also propose a general energy conservation effort in both of our countries, so that we look also at the demand side of the challenges we face, of the energy challenges we face. One last suggestion on the wetland. Upstream of the wetland, we currently have a tree plantation, and that's something that we would consider moving downstream of the wetland. Currently, it extracts quite a bit of water out of the river, and we notice that it's dried the swamp somewhat, and so we would be prepared to move that below the swamp so that it maintains its integrity. Is there anything else to add from Akinonia, these collaborative proposals? All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, right now at this moment we're halfway through the exercise. I think the most interesting part is actually that you were supposed, as part of the exercise, only to start analyzing the first 3 questions, but within the development of the exercise, you have actually entered into what is the 4th question, right? So you have been talking about collaboration, about the peace and the peace parks, cooperation, proposals across the countries, negotiations, all of this. They are already going into this governance needed to enable action, which is part of the 7 questions, but also it's also part of the goal of this exercise. So I think we're gonna freeze the exercise for a moment. I'm going to try to give you some extra inputs or a couple of tools that might be interesting or of use, hopefully, for answering also question number 4 and 5 and onwards. And afterwards we are going to continue with the exercise. So I'm going to make a short presentation. Hopefully it's not going to take so long. So so if you're in the back, please can turn the 3rd presentation, please. So the title of the presentation, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Legally sound governance processes to mobilize action. It's actually a complicated title, but I will try my best to make a simple presentation also because it's late in the afternoon and the exercise is going it's quite entertaining, so I will try not to take so much of your time. I'm going to be focusing actually on two different aspects. Mainly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the national level, that we know it's obviously quite relevant, but also, as you can see, in the take-home basin exercise has led us to more governance of shared water issues. So this is something I'm also going to be touching upon. So, yeah, this is a graphic from a very dear colleague of us, Professor Patricia Walters. And what I wanted to do actually with this graph was to put a slide from James Dalton from IUCN, where he actually sees in the picture a forest and it's crossed by a river. And he was mentioning in his talk 2 days ago that he actually that some colleagues from the forest program saw basically a forest. And then he said, because there's a river in the slide, he said, well, I see a floodplain. I wanted to ask him for this picture because this is a little bit what us lawyers see. We see a scheme where laws and rules and policies and strategies are being implemented. So that ought to say that this is our interpretation of this. This is not a scheme that exists in abstract, but it's our interpretation of how we are supposed to, or we should manage natural resources. This graphic basically depicts the idea that together with policy and law, you should seek implementation for better water resource management, which is basically the topic of this brief talk. So issues at the national level, I would say that there's 3 major areas at the national level where law has a major role to play. First of all, coordination and cooperation between different institutions and sectors. Second one, availability and accessibility of data and information, obviously, and with a view of taking informed decisions. And thirdly, building an enabling environment for public participation, which is intrinsically related to the second point. So, regarding coordination and cooperation, first of all, it has to be clear that there's 2 different types. We have on one hand what it's referred as horizontal cooperation, which is that one between departments and ministries. Also, it requires the adequate involvement of stakeholders and interest groups in the decision-making process. So this implies not only it implies a second stage, not only engaging with relevant and different offices and ministries, but reaching out and including non-governmental actors. As of the second point, the vertical, it requires, or it's indicated that there should be a consistency between policies and planning processes and implementation at the different levels of government. This requires, or this is exercised through a consistency between the different levels in which policies and eventually regulations are developed. There's other issues that should be considered by national laws. I don't want to give here a full lecture. I don't want to overwhelm or something like this. But let's take 4 examples here. I'm not saying that this is a closed list, but it's just 4 examples of issues that a legal system should be considering in order to answer part of the questions that are proposed in exercises or in basins like the take-on basin. For example, land use regulation. So we know that the forestry, especially uncontrolled or illegal logging, has an impact on water resources. That means that forestry policy and planning is relevant to water law and to water resource management. The same goes for agricultural land and the practices. So, like for example, topsoil compactation, for example, they might have a negative impact also on the quality and the quality of water. So in that sense, it is required that land use regulation speaks also to water regulation. Another topic, environmental impact assessments, mainly try to enforce. I believe that most of the countries of the world have enacted legislation on EIAs. Now the challenge is that they get actually implemented. The same goes for topics like environmental flows or payment for ecosystem services, or for that sake value of water resources, are topics that sometimes, when you have developed already a modern water act, they are considered, they have been considered. So there's two options. If your law is still not